Dr. Jim Wilson from Edinburgh University. Welcome to you indeed. Okay,
thank you.
So this is on the Princess Diana side.
Yep.
Tell us the rest of the story then.
Well, I was always fascinated by Princess Diana's ancestry because it went back to a woman called Eliza Kewark. Now, she was supposed to be Armenian, but she lived somewhere near Bombay. And I began to wonder, you know, was she Armenian or was she actually perhaps part Indian? So what we did was to sort of try and trace some of the family tree and find some people who were willing to take genetic tests.
And who did you find?
Well, there were two people, actually, Robin Dewhurst and Sarah Drury, who are third cousins of Diana's mother. And the key thing about them is that they are related in the mother line. So their mother's 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 mother and Diana's mother's 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 mother go back to the same person. And this means that they carry a small piece of DNA called mtDNA, mitochondrial DNA, in common. So we can learn about William's line from these people.
All right, and you can... Couldn't they have picked up the Indian element from somewhere else?
Well, I don't think so, because it's putting together the genetics and what we know. When we tested them, they belong to this lineage called R30b. And we looked at 65,000 people in databases we could access, and only 14 of them had this. It's very, very rare. 13 were in India and 1 in Nepal. So it seems very strong evidence. When you put it together with the fact that Eliza was living in Surat in Gujarat, you know, in around 200 years ago, essentially, I think it makes quite a strong case that she was at least part Indian.
And as far as we know, this is the only part of Prince William and Harry's DNA that isn't from within Europe.
Well, I haven't analysed their DNA themselves, but as far as we're aware from their family tree, we did another quick analysis across the rest of his genome, and we found in our volunteer Robin and also in Sarah, and we found they had 3 little blocks of Indian DNA. They were about 0.5% Indian by ancestry. So we would predict that William is a little bit less than that because he's a couple of generations down the line, but he's carrying these small blocks of Indian DNA which he may pass on to his children.
And it's actually quite a sad story of what happened to this half-Indian...
Great-great-great-grandmother.
It's 5 times great.
Yes,
it?
It's fascinating because Eliza was the housekeeper to William's ancestor Theodore Forbes, and he was a rather well-to-do man from a good family in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. And he had 2 children with his housekeeper. Kitty was born in 1812 and Alexander in 1814. And the kids were sent back to Scotland to be looked after by relatives. I think much to Eliza's despair, because there are letters which have turned up.
She was left behind.
Yeah, asking Theodore, you know, could she come back and so on. But Kitty went on to become Princess Diana's ancestor, and Alexander was homesick and he was sent back to India.
And the plot thickens, I understand, because Diana's brother has named 2 of his children Eliza and Kitty.
Yes, who would have guessed?
As far as we know, William and Harry weren't involved in this research, but the response from Princess Diana's sister has been positive. She's embracing her lineage.
Her aunt, it was her aunt, Princess Diana's mother's sister. Yes, she said, as far as I'm aware, that she had always been quite excited to have a little bit of Armenian, but now it's better because she's got a little bit of Indian as well.
And we know that the heir to the throne, Prince William, has never been to India, but how do you think this news will be received by the 1.1 billion people that live there, part of the Commonwealth?
Well, I think they might be quite happy. In the end, it doesn't matter where your DNA comes from, does it? But it provides that sort of sense of commonality that we're all related in the end.
And he's got Indian cousins, if this is true as well.
Well, Alexander hasn't been traced, his descendants, yet. He worked for the British East India Company, and he may well have descendants out there, yes.